got my face frame glued together out of the clamps. Glue's dry. I'm going to check it to make sure it fits. So if I did it right, this should line up, which it does. I should have a little bit of overhang, which I do. A little bit of overhang. And what I'll do now off camera is I'm going to run this through the big sander to clean up the whole surface, front and back, and then we'll glue it to the case. I got my face frame here from the sander. It's all nice and smooth. We got nice smooth joints between the rails and the stiles. Now we're ready to put the face frame on the case here. To do that, I'm going to dry clamp it first. So what that's going to look like is something like this. There'll be a time when this happens. It's a pretty common problem. You'll see here that the face frame is not lining up. It's a little crooked. So down here, it's relatively good. And then over here, I still have my overhang, but it kind of gets off kilter. So what I want to do here is, the camera person can kind of see right here, I want to be able to push like that so I can have my overhang. Right now I don't have overhang. If I push right before I glue on, I'll have my overhang. Okay, I got all my clamps on with no glue just to make sure everything looked good. So coming close here, we'll see what I'm doing. I got 3 clamps on each side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I have 1 clamp to hold each rail. So again, 1, 2, 3. So we have good pressure squeezing in so we can get a good tight contact on this face frame. So I'll pull the clamps back off and we'll glue it together. So the last step is going to be to attach the face frame. So the one thing I want to show you is just about how much glue to put on, because you don't want to put too much on, you don't want to put too little on. So what a good amount of glue looks like would be something like this. And then once I get the glue on, it's just going to be a repeat process of your dry clamping. And then from there, we let it sit for overnight until we're good to go. So again, plop that on, make sure we have overhang on both sides like we've been talking about. I use my fingers here to make sure my overhang's good. And then just a repeat of the dry clamp. That's why we dry clamp, so we have all the clamps ready to go and we know they work. So now we have to flush trim the sides. So remember how I wanted you to have a little overhang here? Well, now we're going to make that nice and even. And the way we're going to do that is by use of this router bit. This is called a flush trim router bit. It's got a bearing right here and a cutter right here. So what we're going to do is have the bearing follow this surface while the cutter cuts the face frame. I'm going to change this router bit into the router table. If you need a reminder on how to change the router bit, refer back to the router video on my YouTube channel. Now we're ready to flush trim the project. So if you get in nice and tight here, we can see how the bearing's going to ride on the plywood and the cutter is going to cut the face frame. So when I do this, I've always taught you to go against the direction of cut. I've always taught you to go, I drew some arrows on the router table and we're used to going this way. This project's a little bit different. We're going to be going with the direction of cut. And that's okay as long as your hands are way above the router bit, not really close to the router bit. It's going to feel like it's going to jerk at you a little bit, like it's going to want to grab. Just maintain your shoulders or your elbows kind of tight into your body. And you want to make sure you just kind of have a nice control and do little cuts at a time. You'll see me do little cuts. So let's get the dust collectors on and make those cuts. So you saw me at that last cut, I was going the traditional way or against the direction of cut. You want to get the majority of the material off going with the direction of cut. The last cut will be made against the direction of cut like you're used to doing. I'll do the other side off camera.